Welcome to the Ben and Walker Movie Show. I'm your co-host, Ben Davis, joined by my other co-host, Walker Holt. And on this Halloween special edition show, we're excited to have a conversation with you about one of our favorite things in the world, Christianity, exorcisms, and of course, crazy evil spirits called Bathsheba. If this is your first time being here with us, welcome. We're so glad to have you. And while you're here, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the latest stuff that we have for you guys. And leave a like because that helps us out a great deal and we would really appreciate it. This is usually the part of the show where I'd kick it over to my other lawbreaker. But today we're joined by a very special guest, making her second appearance on the Ben and Walker Movie Show, Mrs. Jessica Holt. How are you doing today?
Hey Ben, I'm good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there. Panthers won today. They got their first W of the year, so I'm
Yeah.
having a good day. Having a very
Hey,
good day. Oh
that's
yeah, and
good.
Walker is here too, I guess.
Eh.
Howdy, how do? How's your
How are you
weekend been,
doing?
Ben?
It's been busy. It's been busy. The mom is in town, so uh, having a lot of fun with her, having her here, watching all the scary movies with her because she's got the best commentary on scary movies. Ben, I can't watch this stuff. It's so demonic. I'm gonna need to pray when I go to sleep tonight. This is too much for me. That's my favorite. And then,
That's how
of
she really
course,
sounds.
so that's like an exaggerated version, but it's not far off. It's not far off.
Okay.
She sounds very similar to this. It's very similar, but not quite. And this weekend, obviously, celebrated Halloween or trick or treat. We did trunk or treat with Zoe, so that was really cute, and she did really good. So,
so you do it on the weekend
mm-hmm.
beforehand? Is that the way it typically works?
I
Um,
think so.
or just the area you did it had an event on that day, I guess.
It was just the trunk or treat where they were when they were having it. They do it at I forget where it is. It's this beautiful place, like a campground, and all these like RVs and stuff will go out around and they'll decorate, and then kids will walk around. They make a whole big deal about it. Um, we did one little circle, and Zoe was very good. She dressed up as Minnie Mouse. I dressed up as Maverick from Top Gun.
Really?
It was very
Walker
very
likes
spur of the
that.
moment. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It worked. It was spur of the moment, and Carly dressed up as me,
As you? Oh,
as
okay.
me.
How?
So
What
she
is it?
wore like a tie dye hat, a tie dye sweatshirt, wore some high tops and some skinny jeans, and then would constantly do things that I do to like nettle her. So like occasionally to mess with Carly, I'll like narrate her thoughts because it bugs the crap out of her. And she started doing that to me, and God, I'm really annoying.
That's funny.
I would love to see that outfit.
I'll post some pictures. It's really funny. But how was your guys' weekend? What'd you guys get up to?
I played golf on Saturday. Which was a lot of fun. Other than that, just been relaxing, catching up on content. It's my favorite time of year. We just watch nothing but scary movies all the time. I love it. Um,
I'm sure you're a big fan of that, Walker.
yeah, that's been pretty much it. Just scary movies and TV, and it was a relaxing weekend. It was nice for me. Jess had to work though.
Good. Oh,
Yeah, I
I'm
had to
sorry,
work, which
Jess.
was equally as fun as Walker's golfing trip. But I was saying, like, I love this time of year because it's nothing. Like, every time I turn on the TV, there's a scary movie, and I'm like, yes, this is what I
Yep.
need.
Yeah, it's the best. And I'm like doing crunch time in terms of like all the horror movies I'm watching. I'm kind of binging just a bunch that I really want to get in this year. To kind of like get it all out of my system by the time I have to get to Christmas season. So I still got to watch Jason Lives, which is Friday the 13th part 6. And then I think I might be good. I think I might be good for the year. We'll see though. Um, so here's the thing, guys. Every year we always like to do a Halloween special for you guys, which means we always do two deep dives a month in October. And it just so happens that our drop date for episodes, which is every Tuesday, remember that every Tuesday,
Except for
lines
when
up
it's
perfect,
not.
except for when it's sometimes not because technical difficulties suck. But our drop date lined up perfectly with Halloween this year, which really helps out our schedule real nicely. There were a lot of good options on the table this year, like a lot of good movies to cover. I know, Walker, we discussed that quite a bit.
Yep.
But we kept coming back to the movie we're covering today, The Conjuring, which is celebrated its 10th anniversary this past July. But before we start our deep dive, I think it's important to note that the Conjuring universe is one of the more successful cinematic universes ever created and is the most successful horror franchise ever. It's grossed over like $2 billion at the worldwide box office across its 8 installments. Some people argue nine. I think The Curse of La Llorona. A lot of people argue if that's part of the franchise. When I looked on Wikipedia, it's not on there. But with that said, Walker, what kind of relationship do you have with the Conjuring franchise? Since I know that you're the biggest horror buff out of the three of us.
Yeah, not a strong one. I mean, I don't have. I'm not anti Conjuring universe. I kind of, I mean, I like franchises. I like Patrick Wilson. I like some of the people who've been attached to a few of the movies. I had I've seen The Conjuring, but like and I've probably seen it all the way through before just recently. But I like it. I mean, I like what I've seen. I mean, for what it is, it's higher quality horror for a lot of them, at least. I can't keep them all straight. There's so many of them, but so it's
There are a
not
lot.
something that I've like really seen the whole franchise in order, and I know the lore very well at all. Last night really refreshed some of my memory on it, but it I'm still not overly familiar with it.
Yeah, they take the Star Wars approach and they tell it out of order.
Sure.
It's all over the place. I think this franchise is very cool in the sense that the Warrens have a lot of stories to pull from, but also I think the way that this universe is constructed and how they set it up with the first movie with this treasure trove of things that can be explored in future installments is a nice setup for all different sorts of horror films. In terms of quality, I think generally it's pretty consistently good, especially when compared to other horror franchises that are more often than not hit and miss. I love the Friday the 13th and Freddy the Nightmare series, but it can be hit and miss. I think the movie we're covering today is very good, and we'll get to more of that later. I think the sequel is really good. Annabelle Creation is very good. Comes Home is a lot of fun. The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, I think is a very solid addition to the franchise. I'd put The Nun 2 in the like okay but not great category. And the first Annabelle and the first Nun movies are not good. They're non-starters. They're meh, but I think this franchise works best when it focuses on the Warrens because their relationship is really the beating heart of the universe. And Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson just feel so relatable and loving and constant in these movies. On a personal note, I love that this franchise isn't afraid to wear its religion on its sleeve either. It's very open about what it is. Given the ending like text that pops up on the screen, it's very not black. It's very black and white about it. It's not very gray where this franchise stands on stuff. But generally, I'd say this franchise has a good batting average for a horror franchise or for any franchise really, and I think that's what's made it very successful over the past 10 years. Because this franchise is 10 years old now, which is bizarre to me. But what about you, Jess? Do you have any cool stories like you did with Magic Mike? Can you top that one?
No, I don't think anything could top that. But I
It's
did
true. Channing Tatum
Blue
right
Mountain,
by you.
Blue Mountain State, like the Rise of Badland, and it was a movie, and we had to go to this one house. Had no idea what the house was. When I went there for this movie, I pull up and I immediately recognized it as the Conjuring house, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. And then there was a scene where we had to like kind of go upstairs and out onto the balcony that's out back of the house. And even though none of The Conjuring was filmed inside the house, just being in there freaked me out.
I get
It's
it.
just, it's, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, you're talking about the Nun. Walker loves scary movies. We went to go see, it wasn't Nun 2. I think it was the first Nun. And Walker almost died that day because he choked on his popcorn and made like a whole scene. So, the only reason why he watches these movies is because of me, but then I act so like big about it, and then I watch it, and I was struggling to go to sleep last night. This was a good one.
It's an intense watch. It's an intense watch,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Yeah, I love this movie. But moving on to our main discussion for today, The Conjuring, which, as I said earlier, is celebrating its 10-year anniversary. The Conjuring is directed by the great James Wan. It stars Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga, Oran Livingston, Lily Taylor, uh, Shane Lee Caswell, Haley McFarlane, Joey King, Mackenzie Foy, Kayla Deaver, Shannon Cook, John Brotherton, and Sterling Jennings. If you aren't familiar with The Conjuring, the plot synopsis reads like such according to Google. In 1970, paranormal investigators and demonologists Lorraine and Ed Warren are summoned to the home of Carolyn and Roger Perrin. The Perrins and their 5 daughters have recently moved into a secluded farmhouse where supernatural presence have made itself known. Yeah, I'd be out of there. Though manifestations are relatively benign at first, events soon escalate in a horrifying fashion, especially after the Warrens discover the house's macabre history. Uh, as we talked about earlier, this is the first entry in the soon to be most successful horror franchise ever made. When it came out, I remember a lot of the buzz surrounding it was based off the fact that it was rated R, not because of any sexuality, violence, gore, nudity, anything like that, but solely off the fact that this movie's so scary. You know, people just can't handle it. It grew on to gross 319.5 million at the worldwide box office in the summer of 2013 and became the highest grossing horror film that year. Uh, I think number 2 was Insidious Part 2. So James Wan had 1 and 2. So that's pretty cool. So, Jess, what was the first time you saw The Conjuring and how does it compare to how you feel about it now?
Well, thank you for asking me first so I could be open and honest before Walker calls me out on it. First of all, I hate that you keep saying it was 10 years ago. It does not seem that long ago.
Right?
Um,
It kills me.
we're getting old, but when I heard we were going to be doing it this week, I told Walker, I was like, oh, it's not that bad. It's not that scary from what I remember. And I was sadly mistaken. Like this, it really freaked me out. So what I thought about it wasn't that bad. And then watching it now, I was freaked out of my gourd the entire movie. I was just so scared.
Were you digging your nails into Walker? Anything like that?
No, well, I would just like look at him and then I was like closing my ears almost the whole movie, just watching him for his reaction. And then once he freaked out, I'd be like, okay, so wait, what happened? Like, and then even after that, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to bed. I just wanted to be closed off. I wanted to shut the bedroom door so then I could hear anything if somebody opened the door. I was so scared.
Did you hear any?
Yeah, from Walker the whole night. I was like, stop, no more clapping, please. And then our dog Bison, he didn't want to go to bed. He didn't want to go into his room, and I was like, "We got it. I don't like that."
That's freaky. That's
Put the house up
freaky.
for
When the dog
sale.
freaks
We're
out,
moving right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
when the dog freaks out, that's when it hits you. You
Oh,
know,
oh yeah.
kind of like the dog in this movie. I'm sure we'll cover that later.
Mm.
Uh, Walker, how about you, man? When was the first time you saw it?
I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, unlike you guys, I before we watched it, I was like, wait, it's either turning 10, 15, or 20. I really didn't know. And like I was like, it must be 20. That seems old. It doesn't seem that old, but my thought was there's like 11 movies in the franchise. I was like, so it can't be 10. I was like,
Yeah,
how does it spit out that many in the last 10 years? So
they're
I was
cheap
like,
and
yeah, it was
fast to
either
make.
2003 or 2008. And but no, 2013. That's wild. I don't remember. My memory of the movie was it's just another horror movie. They blend together for me a lot of the time where I don't like. Yep, I'm sure there's a bunch of jump scares. Oh, this is one that they're possessed, or the house is haunted, or what's this about? Like it's just the same old thing. Watching it last night, it was pretty good. I thought it was quite good. I thought it was a well done horror movie. It was very scary. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bison. Um, he just didn't come. I mean, to be fair, he's not done it about. He's been weird about it for about 3 nights. But like, the two dogs have their own little bedroom, and it's like, all right, time to go to bed. And he just won't come. He just sits in the living room. It's like, Bison, that is not the night to do it.
Did you guys like do the whole like? I tell you what, me and Carly, because I watched it with my mom, and I watched it with Carly, and our method is if we watch anything scary, we always go to sleep to like a movie like that's funny or that's silly. So we fell asleep to Crazy Stupid Love. Do you guys do
Mm.
anything like that or?
I
We
like to
just did
do
it a
that.
couple weeks ago
Yeah, we did
with
it
what was
last
that movie?
2 weeks ago. We watched Bodies, Bodies,
Bodies,
Bodies, and
bodies,
then
bodies.
followed up with Joyride, the comedy afterwards. I want to do it. Last night I was struggling to stay awake, and that's not a comment on the movie. I was my tea time yesterday morning was at 7:15, so I was just dead, and so I was really like fighting my eyes at the end of the movie. So we just went to bed. But yeah, normally I do like to do that.
Yeah, that's like the go-to. I have to watch something to like cleanse my mind. You know, I have to do something like that.
What'd you watch?
Last night was Crazy Stupid
Oh,
Love.
you said that. Yeah, sorry. That's a good
Hmm.
movie.
Yeah, it is. I like it a
Very
lot.
good.
So the first time I saw this movie, it wasn't in the theater, unfortunately. This was like the summer of 2013, and I worked at a movie theater, my favorite theater, Atlantic Station Cinema, and I saw everything that came out that year, especially that summer. It was an awesome movie summer. But this just so happened to be one of those movies that we didn't get in either the Atlantic Beach or the Emerald Isle location. So it just sort of slipped through the cracks and I never got around to seeing it. During that time, a lot of my friends are really hyped or really trying to hype me up because it was one of the scariest, saying it was like one of the scariest movies I'd ever seen. And it was really getting me jealous. I didn't see it and I was really eager to watch it, because I felt like I was being left behind. And usually that's not the case. But it wasn't until I think we had like a snowstorm in Greenville where we all got snowed in, and I rented a bunch of movies to catch up on that I had missed for Oscar movies, and I like snuck in this movie, The Conjuring, hoping that my mom and sister wouldn't notice. And it was the first movie we watched, and let me tell you, it was such a fun experience because, like I said earlier, I love watching horror movies with my mom because her commentary is just the best for these type of movies. It's like, Lord have mercy. This is, you got to get out of that house, girlfriend. This is a mess. This is a mess. I played the blood of Jesus. It was really freaking funny. And I will say, like, despite the funny commentary from my mom, who I love, I'm teasing her because I love her. The Conjuring didn't disappoint. This movie is so chilling, it's unnerving and downright scary and like really horrifying in parts. Like it stuck with me after watching it, and it would go on to be like one of my like go-to movies to watch in 2014, and because it was always that movie that I always suggested watching with a group of friends, especially for those who hadn't seen it, just so I could see their reaction. and looking at the movie now, I think the reason it works so well is because it's this very small, intimate horror story. It's not, concerned with these big, elaborate scares. It's more focused on making you care about the family that's being affected and really taking its time that you connected with them and then just dialing up that sense of dread as the movie paces along brilliantly to its conclusion, which is ultimately about overcoming fear, having courage in your faith, which is a very similar theme to like The Exorcist, which is, aside from Scream, is my favorite horror movie ever made. And love and God conquering this demon that has, been tormenting this family, and that's a theme that pushes through this series, which I really appreciate. And not only that, I'd like to mention, like I mentioned earlier, Ed and Lorraine are the perfect protagonists for this story because they have this, love and support and belief in each other that allows you as an audience member to really root for them and connect with them because they feel like a real couple that you would know, just like the Perrin family feels like a real family, not just throwaway characters that are just used for scares sake. You really care about this family. The dynamic feels natural and real. How the family interacts feels very fluid and real. I think that's the only word I know how to describe it. However, I think the biggest star of the movie is without a doubt James Wan. The guy is a master at crafting a jump scare. He builds them up in such a way that they never feel like cheap, but always, build, build, and build until you feel like you're about to hop out of your skin, and then he hits you with the scare when you least expect it. He's an incredible technician behind the camera. And I think that this is his greatest horror film and is one of my personal favorites ever made. I don't know where it would rank. I know my one and two favorite horror films, which are really, tied for one, but I need to actually like sit down and make an official list of what my favorite horror films were. See where this would rank. It's probably very high.
Yeah, two things you said that were funny to me. One, the snowstorm in Greenville. I'm pretty sure I was in Greenville. It was either December 2013 or January 2014, like right in that
January
type of range.
2014.
That's when
Yeah.
I for some reason drove to Greenville. I think they held the what was it called, the Grand in Greenville, the movie theater. It's called the
Yeah, the
Grand Ford.
Greenville Grand, it's closed now, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I went there with Tanner Timmerman to see Wolf of Wall Street for the second time because it wasn't showing in Wilson anymore. And I just remember being there and coming out and it just being so snowy and cold in the parking lot. That's random. It just reminded me of it. I agree completely about James Wan. I mean, the direction on it was very interesting and creative
Mhm.
and intense. That was one of the things I jotted down. Jess asked me like during the movie. I put the notepad down and stopped taking notes during the movie. I wrote a few things down, but I was just kind of into the movie. Some of the shot, I mean, it wasn't like necessarily like Sam Raimi esque, but it reminded me of Sam Raimi in terms of creativity. And
Yeah.
obviously you have to draw
Yeah.
the horror similarities, but it was cool. Some of the outdoor shots in the yard almost looked like 70s esque, if that makes sense. Like a movie you'd say, like the way they do like the zoom and like the waving by to the kids on the bus, like it almost looked like, I don't know, like Amityville or like the original Amityville or like something. I don't know, kind of like Boy in the
It's like a
Plastic Bubble
throwback.
almost.
Yeah, it's like a throwback to, you mentioned Sam Raimi. That is a good call. Like that's a great get right there. Like that to me, especially that scene where she looks underneath the bed and the camera rolls up with her as she looks up. Like that's a Sam Raimi move.
Oh yeah,
It
there's
looks there. It looks very similar to some like a cross between like The Evil Dead, The Exorcist, movies like that you would see from the 70s that are horror films. And I think that's what makes it very effective because it echoes, those two great movies
yeah.
and puts it in a modern, I guess, a modern spin on it, I guess you would say, even though it's set in the 70s.
Yep.
Yeah, it works really well. And most people agree. You know, the Rotten Tomato score on this movie currently sits at 86%, with the consensus being well crafted, gleefully creepy. The Conjuring ratchets up dread through a series of effective old school scares. Uh, Jess, do you agree with this score? Would you have it around 86%?
If you asked me 10 years ago, I would say no. It'd be much lower. But I think today, yes, I would. You were talking about jump scares earlier, and those are Walker's favorites. Mine, like I felt like I knew it was coming, when somebody's getting ready to close a door, something's going to be behind the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so my body would be tense. And then when nothing was behind the door, my body relaxed. And then all of a sudden it would just hit you with something. And then I would like freak out. So it just got me every time. But yeah, this was a really good movie.
Yeah. Walker, what about you, man? Where does this sit on
Yeah,
your scale?
pretty close. I think I ended up coming up with an 81. So yeah, I mean it's right in that wheelhouse. Anything over an 80 for me is, I mean, it's not exactly defined as this. So anything over an 80 is going to kind of fall into that must see category. You just gotta see it. I mean, there's a couple things
You gotta
below
watch it.
80 that I'd still include just for like the specific situation of the movie. But yeah, I mean, 81 out of 100, I think would be where I put it. So it's quite high for, especially for a horror movie.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'd probably end up being somewhere in that 86 to 93 range.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really appreciate James Wan's directing. I think he is a master tactician, um, a technician behind the camera. I think he's tremendous. I think he is able to, like, I don't know if this movie would be as successful if it were given to a another director. I just think he's a very capable director. On top of that, I think this movie does a really good job of making you, like I said earlier, making you care about the family that's being affected before the terror starts. And I think that that's important, especially in a horror film. You have to care about these people that you're seeing. Otherwise, like, you're kind of you end up rooting for the villain. That's in it. That's what happened with Friday the 13th. That's what happened with Nightmare on Elm Street. This movie does a very, very good job of making you care about the families affected and also the Warrens, which are the heartbeat of this series. And I think you add in that great character work plus the great scares, it makes a very, very good, I'd say great horror film that 10 years later, I think holds up. I think holds up quite a bit. Yeah. But let's move on to some what I usually would call fun facts, but today I'm going to call them creepy facts. I tried to find the scariest, most freakiest facts that I could find. And I did, and let me tell you, the hair was standing up on my arms putting these in. Uh, 8 generations of families lived and died in the house before the Perrins moved in. Andrea Perrin suggested that some of the spirits from the families never left. Deaths included 2 documented suicides, a poisoning, the rape and murder of an 11-year-old girl, which is disgusting and horrifying, 2 drownings, and 4 men who froze to death. Most deaths occurred within the Arnold family, from which Bathsheba Sherman was descended.
Time out. Time out. So, Andrea, when she moved in, does she not know that all this happened? That's my number
I
one
think
question before moving into a
I,
house. Did someone
I,
die
It
here?
really is.
Yes?
Yes.
Pass. Move me on to the next one.
I
Like,
think in the state of Rhode Island, they don't have to disclose that.
oh, that is
Really.
nuts.
Yeah, I think in the state of
Cross
Rhode
Rhode
Island,
Island off our list.
Yep.
yeah, yeah, in the state of Rhode Island, you do not have to disclose that information. I think I'll have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure that that's it. But like, yeah, I'm right. If as soon as you're right, as soon as like I see like murder or suicide, something like that, I'm like, I'm out. I'm good. I don't want to live in that house. I feel like there's some bad juju there.
Yeah, but if
Our
you can get
friend
like the
Spencer Wren's
Amityville
a
house for,
realtor, and that's like my number one question. I'm always like, yeah, hey, Spencer, this address, did somebody die here? He's like, I don't know why. I'm like, tell me, I need to know or else I can't live here. He's like, that's odd. I'm like, no, it's not. Ugh.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Um, in the original case, Ed and Lorraine Warren were kicked out of the house as they were not able to help the parents.
This is the
So
true version.
the real life version, they did not succeed. It doesn't seem
Oh,
so
yeah.
less happy. That's what I'm saying. Like the real story is really creepy and really eerie, and I regret watching the true story video that I saw on YouTube. Not that the creator who made that video was awesome and did a really good job, but I had nightmares. Um, very creepy. Uh,
I'm not watching that.
yeah, yeah. When the movie
Yes,
was
she is.
shown, yes, she is. You're gonna look it up after this.
Yes, accurate. 100%.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. When the movie was shown in the Philippines, some cinemas had to hire a Catholic priest to bless the viewers before showing it. This was due to some viewers having reported a negative presence after watching the film. The priest also provided spiritual and psychological help for the viewers.
To be honest with you, that's a badass marketing ploy. If they did that here and they were like,
Right?
"Look, we do have a priest on site. He's gonna bless you before you go in there," and be like, "Dude, this is nuts." I mean, it'd be
Listen,
awesome.
it's a lot like how The Exorcist was when it
I
came
was gonna
out in the
say, yeah,
States
didn't they do
back in the
that?
70s. Something
Hmm.
similar, like people were fainting and passing out in the movie because of the possession scenes, but also because of the medical scenes that were going on in the movie that people were more freaked out by. So yeah, that is, you're right. That's a badass marketing campaign. Like, hey, this movie's so messed up. We had to get like a priest to go, like bless everybody before you go see the movie.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's. I feel like I would be more tempted to go. It's like when someone tells you, "Don't touch that," you're like, but I kind of wanna, you know.
Such.
Yeah. Director James Wan modeled the film's cinematography and atmosphere after vintage 1970s horror films. So Walker, you were right on the money.
I swear I didn't. I didn't read that. I'm glad. That makes me happy that that was true because I
You,
swear the whole time
you,
I watched it, it really felt like that. I don't think I said it out loud last night. I wish I had.
yeah, you picked it out. That's why, like, I was surprised when you said it out loud. I'm like, yeah, yeah, because it's like the fun fact. Yeah, he hit the nail. That you hit the nail on the head. So, job well done, James Wan.
Thanks. Oh, yeah, you too. You're saying job well done to me. It's like thank you.
Like, thanks.
Well, job well done to you as well. You picked up
Yeah, James Wan
what he
did
was
fine.
laying down. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you picked up what he was laying down. So good job, Walker. I guess.
Thanks.
Um, the real Annabelle doll was actually a used Raggedy Ann doll that was bought by Donna's mother at a hobby shop and was known for not only leaving notes on parchment when there was no parchment around, but also attacked a friend named Lou by mysteriously leaving claw marks on his chest. The makers of the movie decided to make a more sinister looking doll uh, of a porcelain for the movie, of porcelain for the movie.
Well, they
Yeah, it's
succeeded because Raggedy Ann was not that scary, and they
no,
succeeded.
Raggedy Ann is not scary. I
She's
don't think you can
creepy.
make Raggedy Ann scary, but
No.
Annabelle, it's like the first shot you see is like the side of Annabelle's
Yeah, it's
eye.
messed up eye. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
it's creepy. That's last night. I was following along a little bit with the Wikipedia plot, and when a lot of the times, well, like anytime there's like a popcorn break or a bathroom break or anything, I'll like look up and like kind of catch up on the plot, just to make sure I'm like getting everything, especially if we're going to talk about it. And Annabelle was linked, and it was like, well, that's weird. I didn't even know this was like a true a true story, true people, true anything before I saw it. And Annabelle was linked, and I clicked on it, and it took me to a Raggedy Ann picture and the story of this haunting. And I turned to Jess. I was like, "Is this real? Did this really happen?" Apparently, it did. I had no idea. And so the Annabelle's what drove me to realizing it was real.
Yeah, man. Freaking
Those
freaky.
nurses at the beginning of the movie, why, when you saw that doll, you're like, this is a great doll. We should keep it here. What about that doll makes you feel good about yourself? Like, it's going to be a happy environment in this apartment.
Right? Like, I don't like porcelain dolls. Like, so here's the thing. My grandmother, bless her heart, she loves, or she used to make porcelain dolls. And when I was a kid, she made a porcelain doll of me. I still own that thing, and I sometimes use it to scare people, but that thing is it's creepy. That thing is creepy. I call it Ben Jr., and it's really weird.
We have a stuffed doll that I think my grandma made named Nibby. Have you seen Nibby, Jess?
Yes, I've heard a lot about Nibby.
You dress him up, undress him. He wears tennis shoes. He has like a oddly humanoid painted face, very very accurately painted face like a human. My grandma was an artist, and it's. I thought it was cool when I was a kid, and I grew up to like be desensitized to it. And every time I've shown anybody, they've been like, that's weird."
Oh, yes. It's at your dad and Connie's house.
Yeah,
It's in the
yeah,
bedroom, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Nibby's a little scary.
You'll have to send me a photo of Nibby. I will. I
No,
will send
you.
you a photo of Ben Jr. That thing is it's creepy. Director James Wan was working on the script one night very late, and he just adopted a new puppy who started staring at a supposedly empty side of the room and began to growl aggressively. One stated that his dog's head then followed something all across the room, but he did not see anything. And when I wrote that in the notes, I got chills and I felt like something was behind me, and it was really creepy. Ugh.
Oh,
Look, there's certain
nope.
things. There's certain things when I watch horror movies, like it's real easy to be like, "What are you doing, dude? That's so dumb. No one would do that." But like, if you take the fact that you're watching a horror movie out of it, if you take the
Yeah.
music out of it, if you take everything out of it, and you treat yourself like how, if you were really in the scenario, like, would you overreact? And we might all not all have the same answer here, but it like I just think you would ignore things or a lot of the time that seem very scary in movies. And when you're like, "What are you doing?" Like you'd probably do the same thing. Like it wouldn't be that big of a deal. It wouldn't be that weird. You heard a noise, you go see. Especially if you got 4 or 5 kids like this. I mean, there's all kinds of things that could be happening. If my
No,
dog did that, if my dog growled at something I couldn't see and like followed it around the room, that'd be enough to jump to scared.
Yeah.
no, no, no.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself. We don't have kids, but I say this all the time. If my kid ever says, like, oh, mommy, daddy, there is so and so in the room, bye, we're leaving.
We
Walker, you
can't
can stay
afford
here.
it. The kids are nuts. They'll do it constantly. I think kids will have
No,
monsters
you
under
need
the
to
bed in the
watch more
closet.
of these movies then. This was a true story. And every time our boys will do that and like look at something up in the ceiling or just stand there and stare. I like look to see what they're looking at. I'm like, hey, maybe it's a reflection and I see that. But the minute I do not see anything, that's a problem. We need to address that immediately.
Yeah. Like I'm kind of with you on that, Jess. Like if Zoe
Thank you.
starts saying, "Oh, there's somebody in the room with me," I'm gonna be like, "What?" And I'm gonna stay up all night. I'm gonna turn on that baby monitor and I'm gonna look in that bedroom. And if I see something, I'm running in with a cross and saying, "The power of Christ compels you," and I'm getting out of there. I'm
Then you
getting out of
ask,
there.
what's your friend's name? I want the name, I want first and last, and I'm turning to my phone and I'm Googling who this person is. Have they ever been alive around here? Like
Yep.
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Like, power of Christ compels you, dude. Get out of my house.
Yes.
At around 43 minutes in, and this is really cool. At around 43 minutes in, when the Warren shows students footage of an exorcism in the auditorium, the priest, played by George T. Zervos, chair of philosophy and religion department at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, where this
Hmm.
was shot. Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's where this show was shot too. Um, so no, I mean Wilmington, not University of North Carolina. That's cool. It's very
Yeah,
cool.
it's really cool. I remember watching this with my friend Morgan, and she was like, "Oh, they shot that on campus. I was at school that day, and I remember saying
Hmm.
that, and I was like, that's really cool."
That's cool.
When I told
Yeah,
Walker the Conjuring house was here right outside of Wilmington and Curry, I'm like, Walker, like we should go there and take a picture and we can talk about it on the podcast. And he's like, I don't know if we'll have time. I'm like, are you just scared or what's the deal?
yeah. What's the
30
deal, Walker?
minutes
Were
too
you
far away.
just scared? You just want to go golfing?
I mean,
That's
that's
always the
just
excuse.
crazy. That's crazy. You're gonna go and I'm like, can you see it from the road? She's like, not really. I'm like, oh, so we're just gonna go in the driveway too, and we're just gonna
I
see the
think
yard.
Knock, knock, knock.
Should we sit
they
Hello.
on?
do
Should we
like a
sit on the
tour.
branch that little kid got hang from?
Well, that tree is fake. That tree is not real. Like the big
Just told me
tree.
that. I know. I
Yeah,
was setting her up for that. I know she told me last night it wasn't real.
Oh,
yeah.
you knew that the
Sorry.
whole time?
No, I was trying. I was just bringing it up now since you brought it up.
When I heard it was the Conjuring house and I was there, I was looking for that tree. I was like, well, where is it? And they're like, no, it's just a prop. I was like,
Yeah, that's like, oh man, I wish it were real because it looks creepy.
yeah, it does.
When the Hayes brothers and Lorraine Warren, a real life demonologist, would chat on the phone about the script, they kept getting cut off by weird sounds and a lot of static. Then, out of nowhere, the side the line would suddenly go dead.
No.
I mean,
Creepy.
that seems like a lot that has happening for this movie. Is this all true? Are these all
I don't
actual
know.
creepy
Like,
facts? I mean, this
okay,
seems like a
as
lot is going
as
on
I
here for this movie.
always say, Walker, the fun facts, or in this case, the creepy facts, are stuff that I have found on the most reliable source known to man, which is the internet. So I don't know if
Listen,
they're
I
true or
believe
not.
you. I believe it.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Yeah, I don't
welcome.
know. I don't know. I mean, that one, I kind of, it sounds fishy because there's always stories about, like, whether it's this, The Ring, or The Exorcist, of stories that you hear of, like, creepy shit happening.
Mhm.
You're like, maybe you shouldn't be making this movie, but at the same time, maybe you should. I don't know. When the real life parents visited the set location in North Carolina, they felt a cool wind whip throughout the set. They also noticed that the intense sudden draft did not move or shake any trees. Do you buy this, Walker and Jess? Do you think
Maybe,
this?
maybe. Yeah, it's just thing after thing. So the parent. So excuse my ignorance. The parents are alive.
Yeah, yeah, they're alive.
So what did so are they still haunted? I mean, did it? I mean,
They still haunted? I don't know. I
so
don't
you
know. I
earlier we were
mean,
saying like the Warrens got kicked out because they were unsuccessful. Does that mean? I mean, the parents survived.
so they came by the house, and I guess, like, I was reading up on the movie, and they said pretty much there were some. For the most part, the movie was about as, like, 100% accurate as possible
Hmm.
to what really happened.
Hmm.
But it seems like there were some different things going on there. I don't know, but I guess they were not successful. They lived there for a number more years. I think until like 81. Maybe I shouldn't even continue to speak on this because I don't know it because I just kind of glanced I'm very professional, ladies and gentlemen. I read the cliff notes of what happened. I think it's
Jess will
like
become an
19.
expert tonight, and she'll post in the comments what really happened.
I'll let
Th-
everyone know for a
Thank
fact.
you, Jess. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Since I can't do my job, but no, I
Was it
think
real? Was it Real House in Rhode Island?
yeah, the real house is in Rhode Island, and it looks nothing like the house in the movie. It's just this. It looks like a single story ranch house.
I remember the picture in my head. I just couldn't remember if it was in Rhode Island. So, like, what I'm getting from this is road trip to Rhode Island tomorrow.
We're off to the road to
Yeah,
Rhode
yeah, we're
Island.
gonna go visit the house tomorrow, right, guys?
Just a busy day
Yeah,
at work. Yeah. Why don't we wait till Tuesday on actual Halloween so we do not just die?
I
Okay.
think that's like a 24 hour. I think that's like a 24 hour drive for me, so it might be a pass.
You can fly.
Yeah,
Just take a flight.
just take a flight. Okay, I can do that. I can
Mhm.
do that. I can make that happen.
Cool.
I can make that happen. No, I yeah, I think there is a family that lives there currently, or a woman that lives there currently, and she says that she's only, I don't know, but she said that she's only seen like a few things, like they're all like kind of little things. It's nothing bad, and I'm just like, if I feel like a gentle tap on the shoulder or anything like that, I'm out. Like I'm good. I don't want no part of that, Ricky Bobby.
All I need is one time for something to happen after I know what has already. First of all, I'm not even moving into the house to begin with, but if I did, I just need one occurrence and I'm done.
Yeah,
Even a shaking of the trees, which that thing I don't know if I really believe that, but I'm gone.
yeah. Yeah, I would be out of that. That after that, I'm good. I'm good. But yeah, I that all of these little fun facts here. There's much more to these creepy facts, as I should say, that you can look up. Like I said, there's that video on YouTube that I wish I remembered the name of. Again, I'm incredibly professional. I don't remember the name of the video, but when I was looking it up and I saw it, it detailed out everything. I might even put that in like the description of the show so people can actually see it.
Do it.
Yeah, I might do it. All right, guys, we're going to move on to our award section. Let's go ahead and start off with best scenes and moments. The opening. I think the entire opening, whether it's the stuff with Annabelle, transitioning to the stuff at the college campus, and then you get the freeze frame, and it tells you who Ed and Lorraine Warren are, and then you hear the title, and you hear like the music start to like ramp up. It's like that very like I'm getting chills just looking at it now or thinking about it now. I don't know if you guys can see them, but like, yeah, all of that. It's fantastic. It sets the
I,
tone perfect.
I agree. I think that was first of all, it was a scary scene.
Yeah,
And it got the juices flowing right away, but it also, yeah, it was a good like tool to like introduce our main characters, or introduce the Warrens. I think that was a good idea.
yeah, completely agree. The Warrens collection room.
You
I
said something
love this.
funny, interesting earlier that
No.
I mean I like what you said earlier about like that being used as kind of a collection of stories they can tell. Like
Yeah,
that, I didn't like put that together, and I was like, "Oh, that's a clever idea." They just had this room full of possessions, and both possess. Let's play on words there. Oh,
their possessions. It's possessed. Yeah,
but that's just a cool way to like that they could use to like revisit. I don't know if they do that. I'm not sure how many of these movies I've seen, but I thought that was clever.
yeah. It's really cool. They revisit it, and Annabelle comes home, which is where the Warrens' daughter is at the house, and stuff starts happening with the room. It's pretty cool. It's a fun, like little haunted house kind of movie. But yeah, it's a brilliant conceit to the entire franchise where they can expand it because horror is notoriously very cheap and quick to make. That's why a lot of directors start out in horror because it's fast, it's quick, and it's easy because budgets can be relatively low, and you can make a profit off of it pretty quickly. And this kind of gives you a platform to launch an entire cinematic universe, which is what they've done, which has led them to gross $2.2 billion. It's one of the most profitable franchises ever created. So hats off to James Wan and crew for developing that. That's pretty cool. The clap game in the closet.
I'm so over claps. I want no clapping ever again.
Not even like a slow clap, like a
No, it's like a creepy version now of like Marco Polo.
It is though. The thing that gets me about this is it's so like mundane. Like it's not that creepy, but it's the little things. Like the clearly adult hands that pop out from the closet that go pop
Mm-hmm.
out and like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
is
gets me.
freaky.
It
Yeah,
gets me.
it's a good tension builder. I mean, it's also, I don't know, it's kind of their version of the oscillating fan and Paranormal Activity. You know how like just something that like it just keeps coming back, this like same
Mhm.
trope that they keep using. You're like, I hate it. Go away.
Yeah. um, Clap came 2, which is the basement one, and then Bathsheba on top of the wardrobe. So the Clap Game 2 is the one you see in the trailer, which is like I think it's like the teaser trailer that I first saw. Might not even be the teaser trailer, it might have been a TV spot or something like that, where you see the woman holding um, the match, and you see it right
Yes.
beside her, and it goes black. Like all of that is so creepy. She falls down the basement and hears the child laughing, and it's again the subtlety of just the ball going over, and you see it being tossed back to her, and she takes off upstairs, and you see the light go out. Matches. I'm looking, seeing what's there, and then
I hate when
Yeah, that
light bulbs
was.
do that.
Oh,
yeah, light bulbs do that.
They just explode. And I don't get it.
that scene in the basement where she like falls down the steps, and then later the scene where Lorraine Warren falls through the floor into the basement or into the cellar,
Yeah,
like, and she like goes through the house. Those two shots were the shots that made me draw the Sam Raimi comp. Both of
yeah,
them were like shot in a pretty close up way that like almost like, probably stretched the budget a little bit, from like creating this chaos and fear from like a really close up shot, not doing like a big wide angle version of her getting knocked down the steps or falling through the house. I don't know. I just want to bring that up, but
yeah. I like that, but to me, the scariest part of this movie, aside from we'll get to it in the future, there's something else, but Bathsheba on top of the wardrobe got me the first time I watched this movie. I was like, hell no, screw that. I'm done. This is not for me. I'm out. I'm tapping out. If that thing tried to jump over at me, Walker, you know this, I'd hit it with an over under throw and I'd be out. I'd be out of there real quick.
yeah, I, yeah. I mean, it was terrifying. I mean, and I couldn't remember watching it whether this was going to be the type of thing that you ever see, or if this was going to be more of like a paranormal situation where it just stays a spirit the whole time and you don't see the actual personification of it. So that was kind of another way to scare you. I mean, yeah, it was scary.
It freaked me out. It freaked me out. Like the banging on the wardrobe, and then you
Mm-hmm.
just see her on top. Gets me. The explanation of the 3 stages. Creepy.
Infestation.
Yeah. Infestation, oppression, possession.
Depression.
Yeah.
And yet you still want to have a room full of all of this crap in your house that you take as like a trophy. Why?
Well, it's okay. It's better in their house than anyone else's, and also they have a
Okay.
priest come by and bless it. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
All right.
I'm still like, nah, dude. I'm gonna have
Yeah,
like
no.
10 bolts locking that thing, and then like
Well, you were saying
5,
earlier
7 crosses on it.
about like the teacup from like the antique shop, and Walker loves going to antique shops, and I have an issue with stuff like that because it's old, and I'm like, you don't
Yeah,
know where that's been, what kind of house it's been in, what kind of. I don't want any of that in the house.
yeah.
That's
I
why
get
we
No,
can't
really
have a
into this stuff.
clawfoot tub.
Oh yeah, no. That's in
yeah,
every scary
yeah,
movie. Everybody gets murdered, and they're not happening.
yeah. No, I'm with you on that one. Creepy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Lorraine seeing Bathsheba hanging on the tree. So again, subtlety. It's the reaction shot of Lorraine just looking up at that thing and going, Vera Farmiga just selling the crap out of that. And you just see the feet dangling. Like,
Mm-hmm.
creepy feet, too.
Yeah, I agree. It was scarier than. I mean, I know eventually they showed the whole shot, but it was scarier before they showed the whole shot. I thought.
Yeah. Because it's the breaking of the music and then the zooming out, but yet somehow staying completely in focus. Again, great camera work from James Wan.
Yeah,
Ugh.
I agree.
Bed sheet in the wind, vomit in the mouth.
Yes.
Is this when she wakes up and she's over her head and
Yeah. So you get like Lorraine is hanging up some bed sheets to
Mhm.
dry, and then there's a big
Yeah,
gust of
okay,
wind,
got it. Yep.
and you see like the wind stop on something, which made me jump the first time I saw it, and then it goes up to the window, the sheet goes away, and then you see Bathsheba just standing there looking at Lorraine, and then go to the side, and she runs up the stairs, and you hear Lily Taylor wake up, and it's like the like vomit in the mouth. Ugh, it's creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, that is creepy. Very scary. Ugh.
Can't get in the room, and then the like trying to change the subject. Are you okay? Okay, yeah, but you hear the kids downstairs playing? Like not even
Mhm.
saying what just happened,
She should have known better than that. She should have known
right?
something's up right away.
Right? Like I'd be if something like that
Not
happened
at
to
the
me,
very
I'd be
beginning of the movie. You didn't know something was
No,
up.
I'm saying. Well, yeah, but I'm saying the time where she sees Bathsheba in the bedroom and then runs up to check on her, and she comes out of the bathroom like, "I'm okay. Where are the kids? Let's, and like that's weird. Okay.
I think at that point it might be too late because he's Bathsheba's already infected her,
We're
Yeah.
all
right?
infected.
Infected infestation, you know. Nancy gets dragged across the room. Again, the little hairs being pulled up. Nancy, get pulled.
What
It
were we
reminds me
saying
of
about
one of
this
the
last night?
paranormal activities. We saw a video, I think, months back of like how it was made, and you just see them getting like dragged across the floor, and
Hmm.
I don't know, it's just weird. It reminded because one of the paranormal activities, one of the girls gets like pulled up by her ponytail, right?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds familiar. Yeah.
Freaks me out. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's just again chilling because it's that like silence before the thing happens. James Wan always does this incredibly well, where like there's this silence before the big bang, and it like jolts you. It's like getting an adrenaline shot, but in a movie form.
They do this weird, I think, noise where it's like a deep humming before it
Yeah,
happens. Do you want to talk? I'm not going to try and mimic it because it's going to sound freaky and weird, but that's when you know something's coming, and I hated that.
yeah. Uh, Bathsheba uses Annabelle to mess with the Warren's daughter. The thing that gets me about this is the rocking chair in the corner and her just like rocking in the chair and brushing the doll's hair. And you see the doll turn back and it's Annabelle, so it's automatically creepy. So you're like, ah.
Yeah, and they're just in a room full of other nonsense that could go wrong. I don't. The whole room just freaks me out. What did the sign say? It was worded in a creepy way too, like on Annabelle's case.
Case.
Do
I
not
don't
touch this
remember.
under any circumstances or something like
It
that.
said, I'm gonna look it up, but it said something. It was phrased in like a old fashioned, like creepy way. You know.
I
Yeah.
don't need a sign. I don't need a sign to not touch it. I don't need a sign to not go into the room. I'm not. I mean, I. You don't have to tell me twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. No. I'm not touching that thing. I'm not touching that thing. But yeah, I thought it was very well done, and they set it up perfectly too. Like Lorraine gets trapped in that basement for a minute, and she loses her necklace, or she gets choked with her
Oh
necklace and
yeah.
loses it. And that's when Bathsheba knows that she can take advantage of this, and that's how she kind of starts to infest the Warrens' home as well. And it's a nice little setup, and it makes it more personal for the Warrens as well. Again, this is more smaller, intimate horror film. This isn't filled with big, bombastic things. This is like smaller, intimate. You care about these characters, and they set it up very well.
It says positively do not open.
Yeah,
There's reading that was I thought that was weird enough by itself.
it is. It's very weird. And the final thing I have listed here is the exorcism slash final act. So you get the whole part where they tell them, all right, like, you should leave, even though we know that this thing is going to follow you. You should get out of this house in the meantime before we get this approved by the Catholic Church to do like an exorcism of the house, right? Or something like that. Um, but it's too late. It's already possessed the mom, and she takes the two youngest kids back to the house and is trying to kill them. And this is this whole final act to me is so well done because the movie's revving up tension and this sense of dread of things going on. Once you get to that the final acts of this movie, it is not only delivering on the character arc for Ed and Lorraine, who the last demonic possession they were involved in led to Lorraine, not eating and keep herself locked away for 8 days, and them having as a unit to get over that and to confront their fear and have courage in their faith to do the exorcism. And be like, all right, well, this is our best bet. This is all we have. And again, I like how it's done. It's incredibly creepy too, with the Bathsheba reveal yourself, and then the spitting of the vomit, and then the breaking of the bed sheet, and you see the demon's face. Her not being able to leave the house because when they take her out of the house, her skin starts burning.
Yeah, like the cut around her throat. That freaked me.
Yeah, like it's like being pulled back. It's like,
Mhm.
but like again, this movie stays true to its roots and to its themes, which is the power of love and God overcoming Satan. Um, and that's ultimately what saves the day at the end, where, you know, Ed's like, Bathsheba, show me your face. I condemn you back to hell, or whatever he says. And then Lorraine putting her hand on I'm forgetting the main mom's name, but it's played by Lily Taylor.
Yeah,
Head on her hand, and is like,
Carolyn.
Carolyn, and reminding her of that memory that was shared of that beautiful day at the beach. You got to fight, you got to cling to that. And then she's able to essentially get unpossessed and puke up that stuff that was puked into her, and get over. It's just a great final act. And then when I forgot to completely forgot to mention that chair coming up too. When the chair
Oh
comes
yeah.
up,
Oh yeah.
ugh, so creepy. Turns upside
I
down. Ugh.
Yeah, I agree. It was a great scene, and I actually like some of the things that we revisit in the scene, like the beach thing from
Mhm.
when like she kind of introduces herself. It kind of introduces the audience and the parents to her like clairvoyancy or whatever her skill is that she has, and they got to use that the beach story for that exposition, and then also revisit it, which I liked, and then the fact that Patrick Wilson like wasn't ordained and but just was like, well, I guess I got to. I didn't find it cheap. I didn't find it cheesy. I found it
No,
like good and powerful and satisfying. I think also great scene with the chair. The vomit blood like through the sheet. Blood coming through a blank sheet is so scary. I mean, I'd put
Yes.
this exorcism all the way up there with like Exorcist Believer or one of the.
God,
That
there is a blood scene in that with
was
sheets.
probably one of the better scenes of the movie too.
Yeah,
Just
that is probably the best scene of the entire movie. Of a
but
yeah,
blood just appearing from a white sheet, it's very scary. Especially in that like violent throw up manner. I mean, I don't know. They do a good job with this movie of making it gross and creepy and scary without I don't know without being like annoying or I don't know what the right word is, but
they don't they don't fall under like they don't fall for the trap of going bigger, 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 bigger. They keep
yeah.
it like smaller while still feeling scary because the execution is so well done and they've set it up so perfectly. Like the setup to the ending of this movie, everything comes to a head, and it comes to a head in a perfect way. That I think really is a great culminating chapter of this film. But out of all these moments and scenes, guys, which one's your favorite?
I do want to. I mean, maybe I might want to add one,
Okay.
or maybe it's kind of part of one of these in here, and I want to specify. I like I said earlier, I was taking notes for a little bit, and then ended up just putting it away and focusing on the movie, and came back and made a couple more notes on some noteworthy things. And the scene, the under the bed scene, which I
Hmm.
think was great camera work, like you mentioned, and they're standing right there, they're behind the door scene terrifying. I thought that was the scariest part of the movie. To me, the tension built and the camera work and and also sold by a great performance. I think the girl sitting in the bed was Cindy McKenzie Foy. I got him some of the daughters.
No, that would be. Let's see. Scroll up here. I'll know it as soon as I see it. Um, it's Joy King.
Joey.
Okay, I'm not very familiar with any of the actors as the kids, but still they that scene was sold terrifying. And I don't know if that maybe was part of the like the second clap game or something like that, but or the first. I'm not sure, but I really liked that scene, and I that was my favorite part of the movie.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that almost made my cut on the final notes. I almost put it in here.
Yeah.
What about you, Jess?
I think for me it was the same actress. This is the only one that I know, Joey King, is because I feel like she's been in other movies that I've seen, scary movies. I
Yeah.
just can't think of it off the top of my head. But when her feet would get pulled at
Yeah.
night, and how you talk about like how things would like escalate. I mean, the first night it was just like one tug, and then the next night it was like multiple tugs, and it reminds me of the paranormal activity at the last scene of the movie. Just that stuff, it freaks me out. But that was probably like the scariest thing for me, and not so scary. The mom, when she would just wake up every morning with like a new bruise somewhere else on her body, and it's like, oh, here we go. Like you just things
Yeah,
escalate each night.
we've always woke up with bruise. Like I don't know if that's just, but like Have you guys ever woken up with like a random bruise?
Jess
Oh,
has a
me.
lot.
Me
Yeah,
all the
so
time.
we already have a problem here between our dog, I'm sure you can hear right now snoring,
Yeah.
and not coming to bed, and just waking up with bruises. Yep, there he is. Oh God, he's on command.
Chill.
So we have an issue here.
Oh yeah,
You
I
guys need a
bruise so
priest.
easily, and that's what's funny is in this movie she tries to like make it out like, oh, I have an iron deficiency problem. I'm like, well, I don't know, girl. That's what I try and tell myself too, but
Yeah,
who knows?
So for me, I think the best scene in the movie is the final scene. But I think the scariest and most effective is the second clap game / Bathsheba on top of the wardrobe. Because that's when
yeah.
you know, okay, things are real, things are happening, and that's when the plot just picks up and just runs to the end.
So I have a question. I've only seen it once, but you said it was one of your favorites, The Exorcist. Did it not look like the Exorcist girl? I feel like that's what I see when I saw her on top of the dresser and
It
stuff.
looks similar, but there's something. So, like Bathsheba looks creepy, like the big nose, the yellow eyes, the messy hair, the dress, and everything. It's very similar, or nightgown rather, but it looks very similar to Reagan. But there's something creepier about Reagan because the scratches, the claws, and I think that image of possessed Reagan is just seared in my brain because I saw it at such a young age and I was so terrified of it. That is the scariest image ever. There's something about possessed Reagan that freaks me out. This is freaky, but possessed Reagan does something to me. It makes my skin crawl.
It'll ruin you. That's for
It
sure. It does
it
me.
did. It did, man. I was 6 years old when I saw The Exorcist. That freaked me out. Moving on to worst scenes and moments, and this is a shockingly like I say it like it's shocking to me. I thought I would have more than this, but it's only two that I have, and it's Sadie's death. Number one, because the dog just randomly died. The dog never went into the house. Like, what happened there?
I don't know. I just why do they always have to use that trope? That's like what they use every time. I feel like, and it's like just like a cheap way to get under my skin. I'm real sensitive about it.
What makes me sad is Sadie was the number one actor slash actress in the movie who was like, no, we're not going into this house. Remember the whole family when they moved there, they all went running in. They're like, oh, let's check it out. And Sadie's
Yeah,
sitting outside of the house, just like Bison outside of his bedroom last night. Like, no, I'm not going in there. And dad had to like drag him in there. And she's the first one that gets killed. Or the
yeah.
only one, I
It's
guess.
it's upsetting. It's always upsetting when they kill the dog. Don't like it. And the next one I have is just a little nitpick: the awful CGI chair that gets thrown. It's the rocking chair. Like I don't know if you guys noticed that or peeped that, but that was rough. That CGI was rough.
Yeah, there wasn't much rough in this. Most of the movie looked pretty great.
Yeah,
I
but
think I was blind to it.
that chair looked very CGI to me. Again, it's a tiny nitpick. It doesn't affect the quality of the movie. So. But that's all the things I have for this. So you guys have anything else? Your
Sorry, I'm muted on
audio
that.
is out.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. I no, I don't think I would add anything else. I think Sadie's death would get the vote for me.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Sadie's death. What say you, Jess?
Same, 100%. I forgot she died in the movie. So when I saw it, I was like, man, why
Yeah,
her? Why not someone else? Why not like a human? Please not the puppy.
it's not the puppy. Uh,
Yeah.
Best performances. I think this is really easy. It's Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga for me. Is a tie.
it's definitely them. You're right. They're the best too. I love Ron Livingston. I mean, I something about him. I always enjoy him on screen, and almost every part he plays, I enjoy him. But they were the best. I think I'm gonna give it to Vera Farmiga just for the simple. Honestly, the scene that they recap where she like saw something and you didn't know what she saw
Mhm.
during an exorcist, whatever. Like that was really well. I mean, she looked terrified,
Yeah,
more than I've. I mean, and then the scene with the hanging
the hanging foot.
was yeah was well. I mean, she yeah. I'm gonna give it to Vera Farmiga.
Okay.
But Patrick Wilson was great. You're right.
Yeah, and the dude, I feel like I always have to say this, has pipes. That song that he did for Insidious, The Red Door,
Hmm.
great. What about you, Jess? Best performance? Who you got?
I, they were great. I think the girls, like well, specifically Joey, I guess, think to act scared and freaked out is pretty phenomenal. I think I would be fantastic in something like this because it would be okay. It's not real; it's a movie, but I feel like my acting would be on point because I would think it's real. And then whoever actually plays the mom when she's possessed at the end, I always think that stuff is good acting. Like to be like,
Those
oh,
are great picks. I think those are all
Yeah.
really great picks. I agree completely. Those were my like second and third as well. But I think like I mentioned the Joey being scared to bed was she knocked that performance out of the park, which made it even scarier for me. And I was gonna as soon as we were done here, I was gonna say, and then Lily Taylor playing the
Lily
possessed
Taylor
self,
killed it at the end.
really great. I mean, anybody who can nail that because if you can't do it, it's gonna fall
it's
flat.
gonna come off.
If you're
Mhm.
not, I mean, it's not gonna. That's a you really gotta nail that part.
When
But
she
yeah, I mean, this was a
tells Ron Livingston that like she's already gone and your family's dead too. Like, ugh, creepy. Yeah, she
Yeah.
sells it. She did really good. Does this make sense? I only have three things. Number one, when they discover the basement, Ron Livingston asks for matches. Flashlights were around in the 70s. Why not ask for a flashlight?
matches are scary when they go out, which isn't even true. Flashlights going out's pretty scary too.
Yeah, flashlight
Yeah.
going out is freakier to me than because a match doesn't give you much light and it doesn't last long.
Yeah, maybe that's the thought. I mean, I imagine it was a choice for effect, but it maybe
Yeah,
so later they could have the effect of that scene with the like it blowing out.
yeah, and you have the
Yeah,
yeah. If your wife didn't eat and locked herself away for like 8 days, wouldn't you ask questions? I feel like I would. I feel like I'd ask a lot of questions. I'd be like, "All right, what happened? What'd you see? What happened? Like, why are you acting this way? What happened here?"
I think so. That said, I bought it kind of. I mean, Patrick Wilson, his explanation of that mixed with Vera's performance, like showing the flashback, was
Yeah.
very scary too. I thought it was, and I thought just like the mystery of it, of not knowing what she saw, and and his response of just saying like I didn't even want to know. I was too scared to find out. I could buy it. I felt him on it.
Okay. Jess, if Walker ever locked himself in a room for 8 days and didn't eat, what would you do?
I'm asking questions. There's something seriously wrong. Yeah. I mean, no. There's some days where I want to lock myself in my room for like days on end, but not eating. I'm gonna get bored.
Right?
There's
Gotta
something
eat
seriously
something.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Why didn't Drew just check the hiding place? Like he's going around looking in every room, shouting. They just left where they saw the hiding place. Why didn't he just not look there? He spends so long just running around the house looking for the kid.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's probably gonna end up getting my vote. That doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, because the matches you can go, oh well, they didn't have a flashlight.
Yeah, sure.
Your explanation for why he didn't ask questions, maybe again they have that. The reason I love this couple so much because they have that trust in each other and they rely on each other and each other's strength. They are really supportive. They're a very loving couple that really balance each other and rely on each other, and them not asking questions and trusting each other and trusting each other's boundaries. That makes sense, right? But why not check the hiding places that you just saw that day?
I think that gets the vote for me.
Yeah, I guess a vote for me too. What about you,
Same.
Jess? Same.
Same. I think my mind would
Same.
just be crazy. I'm not really thinking as I'm going looking. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that one.
MVP. Who you guys got?
It's got to be James Wan. I mean, I've said it a couple times. The director. I mean, he really creative camera work. Felt like a lot of homage. Felt like I don't know. Just he built tension in a good way. I don't like jump scares. I don't like them.
Do you not like? Do you not like them? Period.
no, I
Because
don't typically like them because I typically think they're cheap. I think that's all the movie uses to make you scared, and it just
now,
banks itself on.
when you say cheap, do you mean like when nothing is revealed to be there? Like it's all this tension building up, and then it's just like, oh, it's Tim. I'm gonna kill you, Tim. I can't believe you scared me like that. Or is it like when the cat jumps up, or is it when like the person shows up?
No, I don't mind any of those things when they're done well. I just think sometimes movies rely on the jump scare to make it scary, and that's the only thing they do. And like, I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't take a level of skill to pull a jump scare off, but I mean, just the simple natural reaction to something suddenly like attacking your senses, your sight, your sound, your everything like that so quickly, you're gonna flinch and get
Jolt.
scared,
Yeah.
have a reaction. And when that's the whole movie, I just think a lot of scary movies rely on that as a crutch to call themselves a horror movie. And I don't think that was the case here. I think they earned the jump scares. I think the tension built was like you said earlier, makes you want to jump out of your skin. It was just earned. I mean, it was well done. I laughed several times last night. Like I laughed because I was like, "What the fuck? My God!" It's so like it's too scary. Like it's just insane how like much they make me feel like chilling. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think James. I think it's testament to what his work behind the camera. I think he did a great job.
What do you think, Jess?
I'll agree with that. I also want to give my apologies to Mr. James for whatever I said about it 10 years ago because I was completely wrong. This was very scary. Walker, I don't remember you laughing much. The only time I remember you laughing was when they lit the first match. And I didn't understand why you thought it was funny, but I was like, okay. But there were like multiple times where like I did not physically jump, but my insides jumped so hard. I felt like pins and needles through my skin where I was just freaked out. Didn't get much sleep last night. So hats off to you, Mr. James.
Worth adding too to just talking about James Wan. I love a long take, and that scene of them
Yeah.
moving in. Love a good. I just love a good long take. It's always fun, and especially with a good like soundtrack. It's kind of Scorsese esque.
Yeah. It's a lot of good songs in this. Yeah, for me, it's James Wan. I think he's the master of the jump scare. Well, I do think you're right. I think cheap jump scares for me are the ones that I was talking about because I'll often hear people, say they don't like jump scares, and I asked that same question. Do you not like jump scares, or do you not like how sometimes they're executed in movies where they feel cheap? And I think James Wan does it in a way where they all feel earned, right? They all feel warranted and they add to the atmosphere of the movie because he's such a good builder of tension, which is why he's an excellent action director as well, with stuff like Furious 7 and Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's incredible at building tension. And I think, again, if you were to give this movie to a lesser director, it might not be as good. But in his incredibly capable hands, it becomes a horror classic, in my opinion. James Wan is to me someone who has never directed a bad movie. I like Dead Silence.
Oh,
I
yeah, I remember that
love
one.
*Malignant*. That was another movie that he did just recently. I think it was his last movie he did. I thought that movie was really good. The Saw film, of course, Death Sentence, Furious 7,
Yeah, it's the
Insidious is another
best
one.
Furious too.
He's constantly for me hit after hit after hit after hit after hit.
Yeah.
He doesn't miss. And with this movie, he gave us another horror classic. But at the end of the day, guys, why would you recommend this movie?
I mean, it's just a great horror movie. I mean, it checks all the boxes in the best possible way. It leaves you scared afterwards. You know, it paints a picture that you feel like, especially the fact that it's based on so much true stuff that it just sticks with you afterwards. I mean, I mentioned the jump scares are not cheap; they're earned. They're also creative. That was another kind of being creative with the jump scare can go a long way for me too. It's well acted. You're almost exhausted after watching it just from the amount of like stress you're put through while watching it. But nothing feels lazy. Nothing feels cheesy. It's really well done. I mean, I think it would be anybody who doesn't dislike the horror franchise, I would recommend it to them.
Yeah. What about you, Jess?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. It's not cheesy, so I love scary movies. There's like the slashers that I like, but then there's also something with not being able to like it's not a actual person. And what I like about this one is there's not the what's her name? Bathsheba?
Bathsheba.
Bathsheba. She's not there throughout the whole
Bathsheba.
movie. So just that there's this presence throughout the movie that you can't see, I think is even scarier, but it's not cheesy. I believe
Yeah.
it. It freaked me out.
I think I would recommend this movie because, like I said earlier, it puts so much emphasis at the beginning of the movie of making you care about the characters affected by what's going on. And then by the time you get to that second clap sequence, it just is so ramped up and it continues to build and build and build and build and build until you get to that final exorcism. And it is done so well. I think the script is very tight. All the callbacks are there. Every moment has purpose and meaning to it. It doesn't feel cheap. Nothing about this movie feels cheap. And I think there's a reason why people keep going back to these movies over and over again is because the Conjuring set the bar. I think this is one of the best horror films to come out the past 10 years. I really, really do. And outside of like the Scream franchise, which is the most consistent horror franchise, in my opinion, and is the best horror franchise, I would probably put in terms of quality this one at second because it's very consistent. Not many horror franchises can sustain um, as well as this one has. Like, there's definitely higher highs in other franchises, I think, but this franchise has stayed very consistent, and it's all off the back of this movie. It came out 10 years ago that I think was exceptionally well executed, directed, performed, written. This is a very good movie. I don't know where it would rank on my top 10 horror films, but it would certainly be on the top 10. That's for sure. But yeah, that's why I would recommend it.
Very cool. Do you guys have anything else to add?
I'm all tapped out, man. I'm all conjured up.
Well, I think that does it for this week. Thank you, Jessica, for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you. We hope you have you again soon.
Thanks for having me, boys. I appreciate it.
And thank you all again so much for listening. If you're hearing this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thanks for watching. If you're catching us on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe for more movie talking each week. Tell us in the comments, what did you think of The Conjuring? With that said, this has been Ben and Walker, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.